In Russia, mass shooting at Moscow concert hall left more than 70 deaths and over 100 injured, while the evacuation of people is ongoing. In Venezuela, the candidate registration process for the July 28th presidential elections reaches its second day. And in Palestine, authorities report new airstrikes by the Israeli occupation army in the city of Rafah that left at least 8 dead and several injured. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, more than 70 people have been killed and over 100 were injured on Friday at a Moscow concert hall arm attack. According to Russia's domestic security service, at least 3 unidentified individuals in camouflage opened fire with assault rifles at the crowd gathered at the Crocus City Hall concert venue near Moscow, setting the venue on fire right after. The head of the Moscow City Duma, Alexei Shaposhnikov, has urged fellow Russians to donate blood for the victims of the shooting and shared the address of 4 donor centers across the capital. Russian Health Minister Mikhail Murashko has said during a media briefing at a hospital near the mall that a total of 115 people, including 5 children, have been hospitalized since the attack. According to the minister, some 60 people have been seriously injured and another 30 people have been treated for light injuries. Moreover, the Emergencies Ministry has said that the fire at the venue has been contained. The Crocus City Hall is a major concert venue right outside the Russian capital. It opened in October 2009 and was named after Muslim Magomayev, a legendary Soviet singer born in present-day Azerbaijan. The complex also includes a children's amusement center and a wedding venue. It boasts an auditorium with over 13,000 seats, a concert hall with a capacity for 7,500 people, and a theater with almost 5,500 seats. The venue hosted the 2013 Miss Universe pageant and has also hosted numerous concerts by prominent Western performers such as a-ha, Eric Clapton, and Joe Cocker. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro condemned the armed attack at the concert hall in Moscow and expressed his condolences to the family of the victims. In an official statement issued on Friday, Maduro described the attacks as an outrageous, criminal and unjustifiable against innocent civilians and sent a message of solidarity to President Putin and the Russian people. The Venezuelan president also sentenced that peace is the only way for humanity and reiterated the Venezuelan government's stance against all types of intolerance, terrorism, violence, and the hate speech. In its official account on X, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, European Union and Cooperation stated that Spain is appalled by the news coming from Russia and that it expresses its solidarity with the victims, their families, and with the Russian people, adding that the country condemns any form of violence. In this context, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan has also commented on this event and stated that they strongly condemned the heinous attack on the Crocus City concert complex in Moscow. They also expressed their heartfelt condolences to the families of the innocent victims, as well as to the people and the government of the Russian Federation. In addition, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs wishes a speedy recovery to all the injured. As a country victim of terrorism, Azerbaijan condemns terrorism in all its forms. Likewise, the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Tokayev, declares that Kazakhstan strongly condemns the terrorist act against civilians in Moscow. The leader of the government states that there can be no justification for terrorism and that they call on the United Nations member states to declare the unanimous rejection of this kind of violence against innocent civilians. On behalf of the head of state, the Kazakh law enforcement agencies, if necessary, will provide assistance to the Russian law enforcement agencies. The president of Kazakhstan also expressed his condolences to President Vladimir Putin for the many victims of the terrorist attacks. We're going to a short break now, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel visited Thursday several communities and places of economic interest in the eastern provinces of Guantánamo and Santiago de Cuba. Hundreds of people lined the streets of the communities to give a warm and massive welcome to the Cuban president, who stopped to shake hands and talk with its residents. Last Sunday, some localities of the area were the focus of demonstrations due to power cuts and stability in the distribution of the basic food basket. The president's tour began on Thursday morning and included also productive centers where he encouraged his workers to do their best and remain united in defense of the homeland. Precisely, the Cuban president, in his account on social network X, emphasized that the country's direction will continue to strengthen communication with the people and maintain direct contact with all communities. In this way, he thanked the careful receipt that multiplies his government's commitment to the Cuban people. On Friday, the nomination of candidates for the presidential elections to be held next July 28th continues in Venezuela. During the process, the political organizations Podemos and Partido Comunista de Venezuela, which are part of the Gran Polo Patriótico, registered before the National Electoral Council the current President Nicolás Maduro as candidate for re-election to the presidency of Venezuela. Also, Luis Eduardo Martínez was nominated as presidential candidate by the Acción Democrática Party, while with the support of the opposition political movement Voluntad Popular and the Arepa Party, the opposition political movement candidate Daniel Ceballos presented his candidacy for the presidential elections. The process of registration of candidacies has been taking place since March 21st and will conclude on March 25th before the CNE. The main place since March 21st will conclude on March 25th before the CNE, the main Venezuelan electoral body, in compliance with the electoral chronogram. In Venezuela, the General Prosecutor Tarek William Saab, in a declaration, rejected any attempt of foreign interference in the upcoming elections in the country, in particular the assassination attempt on President Nicolás Maduro in the Monagas state.
We are advancing. We are achieving great victories. This plan again, added to the others, have been unveiled. There, let's say so, leaders active in these plans arrested, and the investigation continues.
Saab also took the stand opportunity and, among other subjects, condemned the international silence on the ongoing genocide carried out by Israel against Palestine.
That there is no interference in the internal affairs of Venezuela. For example, that he must see a person spoken ill with an equally brutal expression of hatred as the president of Argentina, Milei, in giving democracy lessons to Venezuela, when he himself says he hates his parents, that he hates families, that he praises the extermination of Gaza, because this is another issue that interests me here. This is an international channel. How this, who tear their clothes because alleged terrorists are arrested and presented with evidence, and they appear convicted and confessed, are the candidates for the Nobel Peace Prize. But those who ended with Gaza, almost 40,000 dead, destroyed the mosques, universities, health centers, newborn babies, all killed, pets dead. Literally, Gaza has already been destroyed. 70%, almost 80%, and there you see no real factual pronouncement of international organization.
On Thursday in Chile, the Pacific Steel Company announced the stoppage of the activities of the industrial plant Siderúrgica Huachipato, located in the port city of Tulcano, in the south of the country. In this sense, the administration communicated the indefinite suspension of operations, while the Ministry of Economy informed after the announcement that they will meet with the Board of Directors to evaluate alternatives. In this way, the Anti-Distortion Commission identified the existence of irregularities in the steel imports from China. Additionally, the Chilean ministry recognizes the complexity of the international scenario for the steel market. The President Gabriel Boric made reference to this situation.
In addition, when one sees how the development of this works, not only here in the region of Coquimbo, but also in other industrial sectors in our country, and that is why we are so concerned about what is happening with CAP in Talcahuano, the main concern of the government. The Ministry of Talcahuano, is so you know, goes beyond or not the will of the government, because it has to do with the international issues. But from the government, we are putting all the emphasis in a dialogue and in the company to avoid precisely the closure of the company.
Mexico and Venezuela signed an agreement for the repatriation of Venezuelan migrants, which seek to protect them from the abuses of the U.S. border authorities and guarantee them a return to their homeland with opportunities for the future, in which, in addition to the executives of both nations, other sectors are involved.
We have just signed an agreement with Venezuela. President Nicolás Maduro wishes cold return to the motherland. We are sending Venezuelans back to their country because we cannot handle these amounts. But the president has instructed us that every migrant that we are sending back to Venezuela should have support like the one we are given here, like the one from young people building the future of so and life. So we already have an amount we are already giving to the migrants that return to Venezuela. We are giving them a cause so that they can join a program, which is not exactly young people building, but is a welfare program.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and inform with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Palestine authorities reported new airstrikes by Israeli regime in the city of Rafah that left at least 8 dead and several injured. The bombing took place in a residential area in the Nasser neighborhood northwest of Rafah. The authorities reported that among the fatalities were 3 children and 3 women, while the wounded remain in critical condition. While the Israeli occupation continues its invasion of the Shifa medical complex in the Gaza Strip, where it deployed dozens of tanks and vehicles to close in on the vicinity of the hospital. In Palestine, the Israeli occupation forces prevents the access of worshippers to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, occupied Jerusalem during the second Friday of Ramadan. At least 1,200 worshippers arrived at the temple complex to perform the traditional prayers related to this date, in spite of the restrictions imposed by Israel. Witnesses reported that the Tel Aviv army reinforced its military presence in the northern and east of Jerusalem and south of Bethlehem, and also turned back hundreds of believers, arguing that they lacked permits to enter. They also deployed their military in alleys of the old city of Jerusalem and at the entrance of the Al-Aqsa Mosque as part of the harassment of the faithful. Lebanon's army intelligence arrested 3 suspects involved in the assassination of Palestinian leader Hadi Mustafa. According to what was revealed, one of the main members of the network is a Lebanese and 2 Syrians who were arrested in raids last night in and around the southern city of Tyre. The capture of those involved inside the camp occurred in coordination with the Intelligence Directorate, which has been tracking them since the beginning of the investigation into which has been trafficking them into the attack of Mustafa. In this regard, the Palestinian sources quoted by the network revealed details of a cell suspect of being involved in the assassination of the fighter of the military wing of Hamas, Hadi Mustafa, in Lebanon. On Thursday, before a meeting with Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, the foreign minister of 5 Arab nations met in Egypt with a representative of the Palestinian government. At the end of the conclave, the heads of the foreign offices of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates reiterated the rejection of any attempt to displace the Palestinians from their lands. The Palestinian Minister of Civil Affairs, who attended the meeting in Cairo, reiterated together with the senior diplomats the demand for a complete and immediate ceasefire, as well as the opening of all the Palestinian lands, as well as the opening of all border crossings. The meeting took place within the framework of intense negotiations between Arab countries and representatives of the government of the United States and Israel. And let's go to the world of sports, where because the Cuban athlete Mijail Lopez, 4-time Olympic wrestling champion, announced on Friday that he is preparing to fight for his 5th consecutive crown in Paris 2024. It should be noted that the 3 years ago in Tokyo 2020, the Cuban equaled the milestone of the U.S. athletes Carl Lewis in long jump, Michael Phelps in swimming, and Alfred Oerter in discus throw. All of them are champions in 4 consecutive Olympic events in the same sport discipline. It was thought that the time had come for his well-deserved retirement, but Lopez says he will go to Paris for his 5th title, which would make him the only male athlete to achieve that achievement in modern era. Mijail Lopez, native of Pinar del Rio, a province in the west of the island in Cuba, is a wrestling athlete who is a 5-time Pan American champion and 4 times Olympic champion. He was selected among the 10 best Latin America and Caribbean athletes of the second decade of the 21st century, considered the most complete wrestler of this century. At the Olympic Games held in Tokyo, Japan on August 2, 2021, he won for the 4th consecutive time the gold medal to secure the top of the competition, as he did in Beijing 2008, London 2012, Rio de Janeiro in 2016. During the opening ceremony of the same Olympics, he also became the first Cuban representative to become the country's flag bearer 4 times. The world's biggest tulip garden opens up to the public for its 75th edition, with hundreds of thousands of people expected to enjoy a bewildering array of 7 million bulbs in the western Dutch city of Lisse. Contains millions of tulips of every color, as well as other flowers across 32 hectares. This year, one of the main highlights of the show includes a golden yellow tulip, named after King Charles III, and a musical extravaganza to celebrate 75 years of Ken Cove, featuring Dutch opera singer Letitia Gerard. but the opening was the excuse for a manifestation where 7 naked protesters of the climate change group Extinction Rebellion briefly staged a protest against the use of pesticides in the bulb growing industry. We are at the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.